it would have been wonderful to hear Khenpo Rinpoche speak for another many hours, but I rudely cut him off in order to have a chance for us to have some dialogue, because I know he's also very interested in your questions. So if there are questions about anything from Khenpo's comments or from your own studies, we have a chance to ask them. Yeah.
Having researched you a bit before coming, it seems that you've mastered just about everything thrown your way by the people who are most knowledgeable in the subjects. And unfortunately, almost all of them have passed on, and you seem to be at the top of what's left. So how do you personally pursue your own studies when there seems to be no one to teach you anymore?
Got it. In Buddhism, we begin by relying on gurus. Gurus can clarify our doubts and answer our questions. I had the privilege of studying under His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok for 19 years. He was truly an extraordinary teacher. We didn't trouble him with every single question we had. But after debates and discussions, if some questions remained unresolved, we would then seek his guidance. Originally, I intended to become a teacher after graduation. However, I chose the monastic path instead. Since my ordination, I no longer engage with worldly concerns and have abundant time for study and contemplation each day. Sometimes questions and uncertainties do arise. But over these past decades, I have studied fundamental Buddhist philosophy and have resolved most of these questions. When new questions or uncertainties arise, I can refer not only to my teacher's commentaries and instructions, but also draw wisdom from many other masters' works. In Tibetan Buddhism, we begin with listening and learning, then engage in contemplation, questioning, and debate. Finally, we progress to the practice stage. Although my own practice may not be exemplary, I have no doubts or suspicions about the Dharma thanks to years of study and reflection. I no longer have any uncertainty about this path.
Thank you.
Yeah.
One approach to solving sustainability issues is to implement early Buddhist teachings. And there are movements, modern Buddhist movements, to take this into certain account and implementation. From your experience, do you think these movements will continue to grow and we'll see international collaboration for modern movements for sustainability issues?
Mm-hmm. From what I observe, the current global trend, particularly in the United States, shows strong awareness of environmental protection and other crucial issues. However, in other countries and regions, people waste their natural resources, such as minerals and other precious materials. This stems from harmful behaviors and attitudes. According to current scientific understanding, it may not take many more years before we exhaust all of Earth's resources. Moreover, with our growing population, life will become increasingly challenging. Research has demonstrated this reality. If this is indeed the case, we Buddhists alone can hardly address this challenge through conferences and seminars alone. As for what our future holds, I cannot predict or foresee it. However, we can reasonably infer that if everyone develops environmental awareness and takes personal responsibility, then regardless of whether we are Buddhists, followers of other faiths, or non-believers, everyone can contribute meaningfully to environmental protection and resource conservation. Through such collective efforts, our Earth can become a flourishing green sanctuary with an extended lifespan. Many scholars are exploring this possibility. I deeply believe this is of utmost importance. Otherwise, relying solely on Buddhist efforts, given that Buddhists comprise a small portion of the world's population, we cannot achieve meaningful progress alone. But if everyone dedicates attention to this cause, we can prevent any great crisis.
In this country, we've had a number of Buddhist-Catholic dialogues, and these have been very fruitful, looking at monastic life and how to respond to suffering and violence, and also ecology. So I'm wondering, have you been involved in these Christian dialogues, and how do you see the relationship between the Buddhist and the Christian tradition?
I am planning to host a symposium in Hong Kong this July. Christians, Muslims, and representatives from other faith traditions will participate. Initially, we envisioned inviting representatives from 8 major religions, including Buddhism, to discuss pressing contemporary issues such as the ones you've mentioned. They will share their perspectives on matters that deeply affect human welfare. Our primary goal is to foster religious harmony, and secondly, to facilitate mutual learning among different traditions. This is our vision for this year. Today, Christianity has spread widely throughout the world. Buddhist philosophy, meditation, and ethics are profoundly deep. Many contemporary scholars believe that all nations on earth should work together in unity. Whether one is a believer or non-believer, it is essential to learn from the wisdom of any tradition that can benefit humanity. No matter which religion we consider, each possesses extraordinary wisdom that transcends ordinary understanding. With this understanding, individuals should first establish a strong foundation in their own faith and then learn from others with an open heart. This approach not only serves society but also promotes global harmony and helps people achieve genuine inner peace. This will benefit every aspect of human life. Otherwise, we would simply repeat history with endless religious conflicts. If each religion focuses solely on its own expansion while rejecting others, it benefits neither itself nor others. While I haven't studied Christian scriptures extensively, I deeply appreciate their charitable spirit, such as building hospitals and promoting compassionate service. I encourage Buddhists to learn from these Christian examples, particularly Mother Teresa, the Catholic saint who received the Nobel Peace Prize. I often share her inspiring example with fellow Buddhists.
My question is, what do you think is the main difference between Chinese Buddhism and Tibetan Buddhism? And I was wondering, since you have a lot of Chinese students, if they face any kind of tension while they're studying Buddhism, and if they do, what has been your advice to them?
Within Buddhism, we find Chinese Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism, and now Buddhism in the Western world. To speak precisely, all Buddhist teachings represent an education of the heart and mind that genuinely liberates us from suffering and cultivates happiness. Therefore, it is perfectly natural for Chinese students to study and practice Tibetan Buddhist teachings. Moreover, there are very few significant differences between Chinese and Tibetan Buddhism. When Buddhism traveled from India to China, it naturally adapted to Chinese culture. Similarly, when it reached Tibet, it embraced Tibetan characteristics. My teachings focus entirely on the essence of the Dharma, such as altruistic bodhicitta and loving kindness. A warm, compassionate heart is essential for every human being. Principles like refraining from killing, stealing, and lying are universally recognized, whether in East or West, as noble Buddhist conduct. By following these principles, I personally have never encountered any obstacles. Today, many Chinese people are studying Tibetan Buddhism. While Chinese Buddhism continues to flourish, there are relatively few masters or great scholars capable of expounding the profound meaning of the Dharma. In Tibetan Buddhism, however, many wise teachers emerge through rigorous debate training. Furthermore, there are many accomplished practitioners who have integrated the teachings into their daily lives. Many essential instructions for practice are still preserved. As for people today, most are less concerned with historical background and more focused on immediate practical benefits. For example, if something is of high quality and meets proper standards, people will naturally choose it. But if something merely has an attractive name yet fails to meet quality standards, discerning people will reject it after careful examination. Given this contemporary mindset, Tibetan Buddhism has attracted many Chinese practitioners. In many cities throughout China, although I personally don't have many students, the number of people studying Tibetan Buddhism may reach 5,000 or 6,000 in each city. This represents only the officially registered numbers. Many more practice without formal registration. What they seek most earnestly is something that genuinely benefits their body, mind, and life. As Buddha Shakyamuni wisely taught, the Dharma is like water. Everyone needs to drink it. Similarly, in studying the Dharma, we are all equal regardless of age, ethnicity, or nationality. Everyone desires freedom from suffering and the attainment of happiness. Each of us possesses the capacity to cultivate such wisdom. Therefore, we should all earnestly pursue this path through Dharma study.
So I'm afraid that we are out of time, but we are really honored, together with Washington University, who I neglected to mention, Professor Aviv, who very graciously organized a public lecture last night that some of you attended. And together, we are so happy and honored that Washington, D.C. could be the site of Khenpo Sodargye's first lectures in the United States. And we hope together that this is just the beginning of a long relationship between our universities and Khenpo's universities. And we had a short time today, but hopefully it's the start of a much longer relationship. So if you could all join me in thanking you.